Okay, so our next steps, we are going to start by working on our primary colors first. So we will start up here at the top with red. For this project we are using tempera paint, which is a little different than regular watercolor, which is what we use mostly in art class. So you will have to have a water bucket to rinse your paintbrush out, and you will need a paper towel or two so that you can dry your paintbrush off. So our first step is we are always going to start with the tint first. So to make the tint, we're going to take a little bit of our color. In this case, we're starting with red. We're going to take our red, we're going to add it into our white paint and mix it up really well. This is going to give us a tint of the color red, which of course we all know by now is pink. And we're going to take this pink tint and we're going to paint it right inside this organic shape, being very careful not to go over our line and not to go into our next squares either. I'm going to have to turn my paper here a little bit so I can make sure I'm keeping nice and neat. If you notice that you have streaks in your paint, like white streaks or maybe red streaks, that is because the paint is not mixed up well enough. So you might want to go back and continue to mix your paint in order to make it a nice solid pink color. Just like this. So this is my tint of the color red. I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my paintbrush really well. I'm going to get the water off my paintbrush by squeezing it into the paper towel here. And then I'm going to make my shade of red that's going to go in my background of my square. So to do that, we're going to take just a tiny bit of the black and we're going to mix it into our red. So this is, oops. So this is going to make a darker shade of the color red, which is also called maroon. We learned that in one of our videos earlier. Again, if you see the streaks, it's because it's not mixed up, so you want to make sure that you have it nice and mixed. And then, I used too much paint here. I'm trying to get some of this off my paintbrush. Then I'm going to paint this outside area. So I'm going to go right over the top of my R, but I'm not going into my next square. So it's not a very good paintbrush for me to choose. And of course, if you get a little bit on your desk, it's no big deal. We will clean it all off before you leave. One thing that will be really important though is that before you leave today, you are at a nice stopping point. So you want to make sure that you're not in the middle of painting something, because the next time you come, you will have to remix your paint and it probably will not be the exact same color because it depends on what amount of red and black you use. So if you want it to stay a nice, neat, consistent color, you're going to need to make sure that you get all of that space painted in before you clean up. Okay. So here, ooh, it's very dark on the camera. It is not that dark in real life. But here we have our, let's see if I can get a better, oh man. We have our shade of red and our tint of red. So once you have that first square done, we're going to rinse our paintbrush out again really well. Dry it off. Then you will be able to move on to your next color, which is going to be yellow. But remember, if your paintbrush is not rinsed out, then your yellow will turn orange, which we definitely don't want. So we would move on to the next part. I would pour you a little bit of yellow. more of the white, but you could use that same black because a little bit of black goes a very long way. And of course for the yellow, we would take our yellow paint, add it into our white and mix it up really well to make our tint of the color yellow. I'm going to scoop some of that out. And again, I would take my tint of my yellow, which is just a very light color yellow, and paint right into our next space here. Making sure that we get right up against our paint color, but not overlapping it. Just like so. Rinse it out really well. And then we're going to mix our shade of our color yellow. And to do that, we're going to take a tiny bit of black, mix it into our yellow color, make sure it's mixed really well. And in color mixing, we're always going to take the darker color and put it in the lighter color. So no matter what it is that you're doing, you're always going to take your darker and add it to the lighter. So when we're making our tint, we are adding our darker color, which is in that case is the yellow, adding it to the white. And then in this case, we're taking our darker color, which is the black, and adding it into our lighter color, which is the yellow. And again, I kind of have some streaks because I'm trying to rush so that our video isn't too long. But I really want you to focus on making sure that your colors are mixed really nicely. You will probably notice that your yellow, your shade of yellow turns a little bit greenish color, and that is because of the colors that make up the black. A lot of times there's blue and purple in black paint. That's what makes it so dark. And so you'll end up kind of with a greenish color. So then our next step would be to go on to the blue. I would pour you more blue paint. I would pour you more white paint. You would mix up your tint and then mix up your shade of the blue. And we would just keep on going like that.